all make deals.
Yeah, our son tries to make deals with us almost every evening about a range of items. Now, to be clear, he's 4 years old, almost 5. And if you're a parent, you know this. Most commonly right now, it's all about how much dinner he needs to eat in order to be excused from the table. I mean, literally, I feel like it's every day we're trying to get him to eat a little more. He seems to always be trying to make an arrangement with us that meets his idea of getting his way, not just doing what we tell him to do. I mean, if you're a parent, you know what I'm saying. You can just say amen right here. And we know if he doesn't eat enough, he'll be saying, I'm hungry about 15 minutes later. And when his food is cold and want something else that's not in the fridge or around, or usually it's something that's unhealthy anyway, right? So he's kind of playing the game. And it's not just about food, it's about all kinds of other things. He has mastered this negotiating thing, and he's 4. And we're ready to get on to the evening. He's arguing, I'm doing all this. And we end up finding, as parents, an arrangement where we all feel like it was a successful deal, that 4 more bites kind of thing, or something in a compromise. It's usually some sort of compromise. And in the end, we're like, man, I can't believe we made the deal. We were successful.
Yeah, and that's a kind of silly example of deal making, but it just goes to illustrate that deal making is a crucial skill for a 4-year-old, but also for executives, entrepreneurs, other professionals who need to negotiate contracts, secure partnerships, build relationships with their clients, other stakeholders, try to make more money. Yet there are some key questions that if you don't think about them, it's hard to master deal making. And here's some examples that you might want to consider and learn how to answer for yourself.
Yeah, some of it take note from a 4-year-old. One of them is, how much should you compromise? Especially when too much compromise could make the deal into a dud for our own level of risks. Again, doing the kid thing, it may not be a good deal if he doesn't eat, because it's going to affect me as a parent later. But it's so much bigger when it comes to real estate, when it comes to deals in business.
Yeah, and same next question. What if there's a miscommunication that derails the deal? As a parent, we're tiptoeing. We don't want to have a meltdown at the table as we're trying to negotiate how much more does he need to eat. Same when we're trying to negotiate a deal, we can have a miscommunication that just now no one wants to talk to us, or maybe we don't want to talk to the other person because they miscommunicated to us.
Number 3, is there any way to make sure the other party holds up their end of the deal? I mean, that's why we have attorneys and everything else, that whole industry, and making sure that we are covered. And then what if, we are covered, we did our part and they didn't, and that puts us into a freeze. So we want to make sure that the other party holds up their end of the deal.
Yeah, and what can you do if they don't? Or the opposite, what if you make a deal and then your situation changes and it's not a good deal anymore? Do you have options for how to get out of the deal? What does that look like? How do you roll with the things that life throws your way? There are probably a lot more questions we could talk about with what we need to be thinking about and answering with deal making.
But we are not going to just share us. We're going to share something from a great friend of ours and somebody who has mastered some deal making. So let's dig into these questions and more with our interview here today.
Hello, and welcome to the Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast. We believe when conventional financial thinking doesn't get you where you want to go, you need wealth wisdom. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. Please give us a like on this video, and the comments are open, even just to say hi. Let us know that you're watching. We would love that.
So this month, we're going to talk a lot about deal making on the podcast, right? And I did share we're going to be interviewing a great friend of ours. But again, to kick it off, we're going to talk a lot in our upcoming episodes where Amanda and I share deal making. We've been married for a while, so we do deal making to each other. As a 4-year-old, having that as a 74-year-old and that we take care of, and in business all the time. I swear it's all the time. But to kick off today, we interviewed a master deal maker who turns real estate deals into not just one or two, but three paydays for him and his team, and as he serves and helps people. So we're going to share a segment from this interview in this episode. Now, this is only a 9-minute segment of a bigger 38-minute interview that we did. And again, Amanda listened to it. It's pretty awesome, right? So if you want to skip and just watch the full episode, we have the YouTube link below. So you can click on it. So go to the show notes and you can click on that link to watch the full video, or you can just listen into the real good highlights that Amanda picked out from our great interview to hear what was the best of the best in our interview.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I picked the segment of the interview that we're about to share because Chris has some really great points there about why not to include a bank in your deal and what you could do instead, that I thought was a great gem that would kick off this month of deal making really well. He also shares 2 really good ingredients that he thinks should be included in every deal. One, the desire to make it work, right? If you don't want to make it work, you're not going to make it work. But if you want to, you're going to figure out a way to make the deal work, right? And then secondly, coaches and mentors who have done similar deals so they can help you avoid some of the landmines on the deal or make sure that your desire is not making you make stupid decisions, things like that. So listen to this segment for those key parts that are, I think, foundational for every deal. And then Brandon, why don't you share a little bit of what's not in this segment? In particular, one of the things I didn't include here, we're going to come back to in a future episode later this month. Because it needs
so
a whole episode.
Yeah, we have a lot here. What we didn't include, but is in the full episode again on the YouTube link. So click on that if you want to hear some of this amazing stuff. It's how to move from feeling like a victim of bad deals into a victor of deals, right? Not being a victim of bad deals. Oftentimes people are frozen, right? So we talked about that. He shared how 82% of mortgage applications get declined. You heard me right. 82% of mortgage applications get declined. Why is that, and what you can do to overcome that? He shared one of the most important aspects of deals that most people lose sight of. So you're going to have to go listen to hear what is the most important aspect of deals that people lose sight of. And the last one is so important. We've got a full episode later this month dedicated to it. So that's why we didn't put it all into this episode.
Okay, so before we move over to the interview with Chris, I want to let you know, stay tuned to the end of this episode, or if you're watching the full interview, stay tuned to the end of that show so that you can get some awesome free stuff from Chris and way more value too. Be sure to check out the full episode for those juicy details, but here's the segment that we want to share with you today. Take it away.
Can you explain what bank loans are for people that don't know, and they might be saying, what are the bad ones and what are the good ones to be looking for?
So anything, I don't care what loan you take out for a property anyway. We're talking deals technically here, right? In this theme.
Yep.
So if you're doing a real estate deal, and it could be your own house, and you take out a bank loan, you go get a mortgage, they give you the money, they approve you, and they give you the money for the loan. You are signing personally on that. That means if the bank literally changes their mind on some banks, if they get bought out, if the economy dives and their criteria change, they don't want to hold your loan, I could keep going on. They can call your loan. Call your loan means they're coming after you for it.
Yeah.
I had a project, as a quick reference, that we were selling condominiums out of the 6-unit building. We bought the building, we made them into condos. We were selling them for 172 grand. We sold 2 or 3 right away like hotcakes. In February of 12, when this pivot took place in the financial markets, that particular city in Rhode Island, in that particular building, I could not sell them to save my life for $55,000. So why does that relate to the loan question you asked? Because now what's the bank doing? Right, Chris, how are you going to pay this back? And you're on it personally. So that road took me a lot of years. Some of them went till a few years ago because I made true to all my obligations. You do not want to sign personally on bank loans. And again, I know people come up to me at events and on podcasts and go, yeah, but the bank's going to let me get 4 loans with them, government loan. It doesn't matter what they're going to let you do. Do not do it. So how do you do it, by the way? You buy it owner financing or subject to existing financing without getting too deep. The building I'm standing in, Brandon, right now, is a commercial building. If you bought this building with a bank loan, first of all, the underwriting process would be grueling to get you approved for the loan. You need 25 or 35% down. It's on a major road. And I bought it owner financing. I dealt with the owner in this very office that I'm standing in. It used to be his office. And it took us about 20 days to close it instead of 120 days or 80 days, whatever it would take with a bank if you get approved. So big difference.
And when you have owner financing, like I know you're a huge proponent of profit first and infinite banking. How is that? And again, people think they know what profit first is. They think they know what infinite banking yourself is. How has that changed or allowed you to make bigger deals along with the coaches and guides and people? But how has that amplified what you are doing?
Couple things. So those are both great. Like profit, I'll go profits first. And that is, we both know Mike well. He's awesome. And when we started Profits First, we did it for one reason, sort of a budgetary reason. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Profits First, let me describe it this way: $1 comes in the door, and I call it a system of buckets. And one bucket might get 20 cents. One bucket might get 10 cents. And those buckets you're going to set up with the help of the Profits First system. But we use it because any business owner goes through this. If you don't do that, we found it, the dollars come in, the dollars going out. I'm going, what happened here? There's no profit. There's no, at least cash. And the bills aren't getting paid. What's going on? So it's a system to keep you budgeted, in my opinion, and to place discipline around putting things in buckets so that a year later when your taxes are due, or a year later when there's an expenditure due, or a year later when you want to make a capital improvement to a building or whatever it might be, the money's there. Literally, you know it's there because you budgeted it. That's on the Profits First side. From the banking yourself, infinite banking side, I did a bunch of stuff with it. We set up on a corporate level with our mutual friend Mark, whereby the company had the policies so that they could build up our own bank, our own line of credit. We were borrowing money, it was expensive. And we said, well, shoot, 3 years from now, we could have $500,000, which we did, built up on these policies, and we can borrow from ourselves. That was really, really cool. I also used it to do some planning. I set my grandkids up, my wife and I, I've got, 7 or so of these policies. So that's how we've used them. There's different ways, as you know.
So what for you, as you've been in the other side, what have you seen the biggest hiccups of people kind of saying, oh, I like that, but what are the things that stop people from using the system? Like you said, the 2008 people who are still in 2008, 15 years later. What changed for you?
I'm taking some notes because a couple things that came to mind when you said that. First, just like structurally, what scares some people, because I try to help employees and students do this, is I think some people assume you got to have all kinds of money to start. You don't. I have a policy with my grandkids that I think it's $100 a month. And by the way, if someone hears that and their knee jerk is, I can't do that yet, you just screamed loudly why you need to do it. Okay. You need to fix that. And I'm sorry if that's hard for some people, but you need to fix that. There's a way for you to do it. The second thing I wrote down as you said that is their why. Why do I say that? If someone has a huge burning emotional reason to do what they're doing, I'm calling it a why, then they'll find a way. If they don't, they'll do what you and I alluded to earlier. They'll go find someone to have a pity party with. It won't be conscious maybe, but they will. So if you have a huge burning desire, you obsess over, I just heard Brandon say this. How can I find out how to make it work? No, I can't do that. You'll find a way, because if without your why happening, it's negative or it's detrimental to you. You got to have one first, right? A why, but after that, find a way to obsess and get it accomplished. That makes sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, thinking about combining real estate, profit first, and the infinite banking concepts is just, it is amazing, right? And then knowing what I've learned and frankly, going through pain, has helped honestly. And a lot of times we want to avoid the pain even the pain of, I put in 100,000, and even into a profit first system, I put in 100,000 and it's broken up into different accounts, and I don't have that much. And you're like, well, it seems like it's a pain to experience it, but what it's doing is just building health in your business. And I've talked to you and your team, is I bet you could pull up your numbers and be able to find out exactly what you could do probably in an hour if you were able to do a deal. How do you keep track of that stuff, knowing there's so many moving parts and knowing like where you want to go, where you've been? How do you keep track of it all? What have you
Just like
done to
every
build
other,
that?
yeah, just like every other part of my life, I rely on people like you and Mark and to have intermittent calls quarterly,
Mhm.
in my case, to say, because look, let me back up. If someone's a student of mine, I would suspect or I would expect them to say, Chris, tell me what to do. I'll do it. Right. That would be ideal.
Mhm.
Tell me what to do. I'll
Yeah,
put the
yeah,
blinders on. I'll do it for, I'll follow you for 3 years and I'll have a great experience. Okay. So when I'm the student, what do I want to do? Tell me what to do. And Mark says to me, all right, well, we should have a call every whatever. In my case, I like every quarter. And we should review where you are, what the goals are, and we're accomplishing them with this pathway of infinite banking. And
yep,
and then I just do what he says. I don't a la carte it. I don't
yeah,
say, oh, thanks. And then go to my wife and say, he told me to do A, B, C. I'll just do half of B and all of C. I'm all set. That's
yeah,
what too many people do when they have a coach. It's not, you don't do what you feel good with. You do what they tell you to do. And let me just put a kind of a caveat to that. You and I have both helped people accomplish different things in our areas, but the same thing holds true. You've got to be 100% coachable, sure, but you've got to also
yeah,
be hanging out with what you and I talked about, a coach or a mentor or a community for that matter, who has done what you want to do. Super
yeah,
important, because there's
yeah,
too many people in your business and there's too many people in my business who are, let's just say, I'll pick a date. They're new since the crash, or
yeah,
even more scary, new since COVID. Well, guess what? When the market pivots, because it will, or when you have a life event, because you might, that's not going to be good for you. You need a
yeah,
mentor
yeah.
that's been through some storms. So I won't beat that in the death. I know you said it, but I want to put an explanation point on that.
So isn't Chris awesome? I mean, literally, you probably picked up so many gems there from the master of deal making there. And he's had some master challenges too, right? Just you heard them. So I wanted to, again, to share what us as listeners, would you want and love to get 2 of Chris's books and an invite to his next event for free? You can go to wickedsmartbooks.com/wisdom. Again, we shared that earlier. You can get these books, Real Estate on Your Terms, written by him and other people. And this other one, right, with somebody that we know personally, who I've been working with for many years. And of course, we know Chris, but other people, not just Chris. So go to wickedsmartbooks.com/wisdom, and you can get these books that he's written along with some amazing people with him. Again, wickedsmartbooks.com/wisdom to get real estate on your terms.
Yeah, I want to actually read a little quotation from page 7 of the book, Real Estate on Your Terms. Here's the quote. Here's what I know. As humans, we've all heard of and experienced, of course, the underlying flight or fight instincts. There's a third very scary one, and it's called freeze. I don't care what niche in real estate you're in. I don't care if you're in a different industry altogether. The worst thing you can do right now is freeze. We couldn't agree more. Take action, take him up on his book offer, make that a part of not freezing. As you're working through deals, I think the worst thing you can do in a deal is freeze and not keep talking, not see where there's been a miscommunication, where, you can make an adjustment to make it work, those kind of things. You want to get to a yes or a no, right? Rather than always being hanging out in the freeze limbo. And then we'll also remind you that we have the offer to be your financial ally to help you discover a step forward on your financial journey. And that offer is available right now for you at wealthwisdomfp.com/call. If you have felt like you're frozen on your financial journey and you're not sure what's the next way forward, where, even if you're at the beginning, in the middle, or you're nearing the end of your financial journey, we can get frozen all along the way. And we love to help you get unfrozen. You can, or unstuck, whatever you want to call it. You can take that step, get that call scheduled at wealthwisdomfp.com/call.
Yeah, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon in our next episodes and sharing more about how to have great deal making in your business and in your life. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, comment, and live long and profit. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purpose of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.